Beneath the United States, something is hiding that could change the world as we know it. This isn't science fiction. It's a real threat sitting right under the feet of millions of tourists every single year. Yellowstone National Park, where families take photos, hike scenic trails, and admire colorful hot springs, sits directly on top of something scientists call a supervolcano. A volcano so powerful, it belongs in a completely different category from anything else on Earth. And now, new data has surprised even the scientists who study it every single day. Something has been detected beneath the surface that hasn't been seen before in decades of research. Is it about to wake up? Should we actually be worried? Or is this just another overblown headline designed to scare people? Today, we're breaking down the full story, what Yellowstone really is, what scientists just discovered, what would actually happen if the unthinkable occurred, and whether you should be losing sleep over it. Stay until the end because the real answer might surprise you. First, let's understand what Yellowstone actually is, because most people get this wrong. It's not a normal volcano like the ones we picture in movies, a tall, cone-shaped mountain with lava shooting out of the top. Yellowstone is what's called a caldera, a massive depression in the ground that forms after an enormous eruption causes the Earth above an emptied magma chamber to collapse inward on itself. This caldera is almost unbelievably large. It stretches about 45 miles long and 34 miles wide. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the size of a small US state or several major cities combined. It's so massive that when you're standing inside Yellowstone Park, snapping photos of bison or watching a geyser erupt, you don't even realize you're standing inside the crater left behind by an ancient, catastrophic explosion. Beneath it, roughly 3 to 5 miles underground, sits a magma chamber, an ocean of molten and partially molten rock so massive that scientists have compared its total volume to dozens of Grand Canyons filled entirely with liquid stone. And this isn't just theory, history proves it over and over again. Yellowstone has erupted at a massive, caldera-forming scale 3 separate times over the past 2.1 million years. The most recent of these major eruptions happened about 640,000 years ago. The volcanic ash from that single eruption covered a huge portion of North America, with traces found as far away as modern-day Louisiana, Texas, and California. Today, Yellowstone's surface is dotted with more than 10,000 geothermal features, geysers, hot springs, mud pots, and steam vents. Famous landmarks like Old Faithful erupt on a fairly predictable schedule, delighting visitors every day. But all of that underground heat, all of that surface activity, comes from one single, powerful source: the massive reservoir of magma sitting just beneath the park's surface. Now let's talk about the actual reason for this video, the new discovery that has scientists paying closer attention than usual. Researchers recently scanned beneath Yellowstone using advanced seismic and electromagnetic imaging techniques, essentially building a detailed 3D map of what's happening deep underground. And what they found didn't fully match older models and expectations. They discovered that certain areas of the magma chamber show a higher concentration of molten rock than previously believed, meaning magma is pooling and accumulating in specific zones faster than older data had predicted. To be absolutely clear, this does not mean an eruption is happening tomorrow, next month, or even within the next several years. But it does mean Yellowstone is far from being a dead or fully sleeping volcano. It is alive, it is shifting, and monitoring it closely has become more important than ever before. Scientists have also tracked slight rising and sinking of the ground across different parts of Yellowstone, something known in the scientific world as ground deformation. In some areas, the ground has actually risen several inches over the span of just a few years, only to slowly sink back down afterward. This kind of movement is considered normal for an active volcanic system, but the specific pattern recorded recently caught researchers' attention because it moved noticeably faster than past recorded cycles. On top of that, seismologists recorded a clear increase in small earthquake swarms beneath the park, hundreds of tiny quakes in short bursts, most too small for any human to feel, but more than enough to confirm that the ground beneath Yellowstone is constantly shifting, cracking, and adjusting under pressure. This is exactly why the U.S. Geological Survey, commonly known as USGS, classifies Yellowstone as one of the world's very high-threat volcanoes, a category reserved specifically for volcanoes that combine both high potential impact and a large nearby population that could be affected. Now for the big question, the one everyone watching this is really here for. What would actually happen if Yellowstone erupted? Scientists describe 3 realistic scenarios, and it's important to understand all 3 because movies and viral headlines tend to only show us the worst possible outcome. Scenario 1, a small lava flow. This would affect only the local area inside and immediately around the park. Roads would close, some infrastructure would be damaged, wildlife in the immediate area would be displaced, but the surrounding country and the rest of the world would barely notice at all. This is, by far, the most statistically likely scenario if anything were to happen in our lifetimes. Scenario 2, a medium-sized explosive eruption. In this case, volcanic ash could spread a few hundred miles outward, affecting air travel, agriculture, and air quality across several neighboring states. Eruptions of this size have actually happened at other volcanoes around the world in recent decades, and while serious and disruptive, they are manageable with modern emergency planning and evacuation systems. Scenario 3, the one everyone fears, a full super eruption. If this happened, scientists estimate a thick layer of volcanic ash could blanket most of the American Midwest, while lighter ashfall could realistically reach both the east and west coasts. In the most severely affected states, so much ash could fall that crops would be completely destroyed, power grids could fail from the sheer weight and static electricity generated by the ash, and both air and ground transportation could shut down for weeks at a time. But the effects wouldn't stop at America's borders. An eruption of this scale could release enough volcanic ash and sulfur particles into the upper atmosphere to circle the entire planet, potentially affecting global climate patterns for several years afterward. Scientists refer to this as a volcanic winter, a period where sunlight is partially blocked from reaching the Earth's surface, average global temperatures drop by several degrees, and crop failures ripple across multiple continents at once, straining the global food supply. That sounds absolutely terrifying, and honestly, if it happened, it would rank among the worst natural disasters in all of recorded human history. But here's the part that most videos on this topic conveniently choose to leave out. This is the part most channels skip entirely, because it's far less exciting, but it happens to be the single most important part of this whole story. According to the scientists who study Yellowstone every single day, there is currently no sign whatsoever that a super eruption is anywhere close to happening. The activity currently being observed, the earthquake swarms, the shifting ground, the magma movement deep below, is considered completely normal behavior for any living, breathing geothermal system like this one. USGS itself states that the yearly odds of a Yellowstone supereruption are roughly 0.00014%, a number so small that it's essentially statistically close to zero. Realistically, you are far more likely to be affected by countless other, far more common natural disasters at some point in your lifetime than by a Yellowstone supereruption. Here's exactly why scientists remain so confident about that incredibly low number. Every single one of Yellowstone's past major eruptions was preceded by very clear warning signs that built up gradually over months, and sometimes even years, significant ground swelling, intensifying earthquake activity, and major, measurable changes in underground gas emissions. That specific, intense combination of warning signs simply is not happening right now. In fact, every single time there's even a small change at Yellowstone, a minor earthquake swarm, a shift in geyser timing, a slight change in gas readings, scientists track it immediately and in real time, because the park is covered by an extensive 24-hour monitoring network made up of seismographs, GPS ground tracking stations, and satellite imaging systems. If anything major were ever building toward a real eruption, scientists would very likely see the warning signs weeks, months, or even years in advance. Nothing about this would happen suddenly, overnight, without any notice at all. So then, why does this new discovery matter so much if there's genuinely no immediate danger? Because the job of science was never to scare people, It's to understand what's truly possible and prepare accordingly. This new discovery will help scientists build far more accurate models of Yellowstone's underground system than ever before. And if anything ever does change in the future, this exact research will help authorities issue earlier warnings and better protect the millions of people who live in the surrounding region. Yellowstone isn't alone in this category. There are several other supervolcanoes scattered around the world that scientists watch just as closely year after year. Campi Flegrei, in Italy, sits right next to the densely populated city of Naples, home to nearly 1 million people living almost directly on top of an active volcanic caldera. In recent years, this specific region has shown its own noticeable increase in ground movement, making it one of the most closely monitored volcanic zones anywhere in Europe today. Lake Toba in Indonesia erupted roughly 74,000 years ago in a blast so unbelievably massive that many scientists believe it dramatically reduced the entire human population on Earth at the time, creating what researchers now call a genetic bottleneck in early human history. Long Valley Caldera, out in California, formed from a massive eruption around 760,000 years ago and remains an actively monitored volcanic system to this very day, sitting near a much smaller population than Yellowstone, but studied with that exact same level of scientific care and precision. What all of these locations have in common is simple. Modern science can now give us far more advance warning than at any other point in human history. The days of these disasters striking completely without notice are long behind us. So the next time you see photos of Yellowstone, those beautiful hot springs, those geysers shooting water high into the sky, those peaceful, postcard-perfect mountain views, remember that beneath all of that natural beauty lies a force powerful enough to reshape our entire world. But for now, based on everything scientists currently know and everything the data is showing us, the message is clear. There's no need to panic, but there is a real need to stay aware. Nature has always been more powerful than humanity, no matter how advanced our technology becomes. And maybe that's exactly what a story like this reminds us, that the most beautiful places on Earth can sometimes also be the most dangerous, quietly existing side by side, waiting patiently beneath our feet. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, because we'll keep bringing you more fascinating, mind-blowing stories just like this one every single week. See you in the next video. Take care.